All right, everybody, it's the Combatcast with the man called Dave and Chevy, and we are going to talk about combat sports this week, coming off of UFC 322, and perhaps the best fight night all year that we've had in terms of main event and co-main event, in terms of like meaning something. I'll have to look, but like this really stuck out to me. We're also going to talk about a little boxing news here. Yeah, it should be a pretty fun show today. But before we do that, please, if you haven't, like, subscribe to us. We'd appreciate it if you watch us. Let's tell people what else we got coming up as we get towards the end of the year here.
June 29th, there are no fights. It's Thanksgiving weekend here in the U.S. So we will be reviewing this fight night that we're going to be talking about today. So that'll be Fight Night Tsarukyan versus Hooker. And then December 6th, the man they call Dave's birthday, UFC 323, Dvalishvili versus Yan 2. That's live from Vegas. Merab making a record number of title defenses in a calendar year. Machine, yes. Indeed. And then December 13th, UFC Fight Night, Royval versus Kopp. It's an Apex card. That's a pretty good main event, I guess, if Kopp makes it to the fight. We know he loves to miss weight and pull out.
So some good fights coming up as we get closer to the end of the pay-per-view era. But before we get into MMA stuff, what's around the ring? Chevy, it was broken to us. And I don't know, man. We talked about this before. Like, we thought, this probably won't happen, but it looks like it is. Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua at heavyweight. What do you think, man?
Yeah, so December 19th, Miami, live on Netflix. It's going to be 8 3-minute rounds. So instead of an exhibition versus 135-pound Gervonta Davis, he is fighting 250-pound gold medalist, 2-time heavyweight champion of the world, Anthony Joshua. Also, Anthony Joshua, not over the hill or anything. You could argue he's still in his prime. 25 KOs in his 28 wins, I think, and just giant step up for Jake Paul. I did see Jake's getting paid like $267 million, he said on Twitter or X or whatever. So
that's why you do it, I guess.
Yeah, I know. Insane step up. Lots of respect to Jake because, I mean, this is such a dangerous fight.
Yeah, this has got to be, he must be like, I don't want to say he's bored of doing this, but he must be like, okay, either we win big or we go out in a blaze of glory here. And $267 million was just the right amount of money to go out in a blaze of glory doing this. Because honestly, if he loses, on to the next bullshit thing, he can start his MMA career or he can join his brother in pro wrestling. But I bet you he tries MMA first, stalls it out enough before he does the pro wrestling thing.
Yeah, I don't know what the odds are, but AJ should probably be like a minus 3,000 favorite or something.
But I want to just throw this out there because I just stick out of my head. If Jake somehow pulls it off, you know, the miracle punch, whatever happens, but people will think it's fixed for sure if it does. But let's just say he gets it. His career's set, right? Like, no matter what, even if he loses, like, he's going to get another big boxing payday.
Oh, yeah, it'll be Usyk next after that, for sure.
That's so ridiculous.
Yeah. We are one fight away from Usyk versus Jake Paul. Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned it. If he lands the one punch or whatever, there is a lot of extra pressure on AJ, in fact, because it's not enough for him to just win. He needs to like KO Jake early. You know, he can't just win a decision. He needs to KO Jake probably in the first or second round. Otherwise, this is sort of a win for Jake Paul.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Yeah. Jake, it'd be very easy for Jake to get a moral victory out of this. And I said when his career is all set, he'll get something else. But even just hanging on, he can keep this sideshow going for a while. I wonder if he will, you know, with that kind of money. Like I said, if he loses, I wonder if it's on to the next thing. Because even just hanging in there, he could ride that momentum into the PFL or somewhere else and get some MMA fights. And, you know, they'll roll out some tomato cans for him and stuff until.
Oh, yeah, he'll knock a bunch of dudes out in the PFL for sure. They'll feed him just the right guys.
Yeah, absolutely. But you know what? I think that's enough this week on the Jake Paul show. We will, I'm sure, talk about that as we get closer. Let's talk about what was an outstanding pay-per-view in terms of a mixed bag. We had some finishes, and then we had some real displays of dominance. You can definitely argue the last two fights weren't very exciting, but they were impressive. And let's talk about it. Any fights on the preliminary card? Oh,
Yeah, I mean, the prelims were fantastic. Notable ones, Ethan Ewing got a decision over prospect Malcolm Wellmaker. He came in on 2 days' notice. He just won a regional belt 2 days ago, and then came back in and fought again against a good prospect and got a decision win over him. Very impressive. Aaron Blanchfield got what is the first one to finish Tracy Cortez with a round 2 sub. A very good performance for Blanchfield. And then obviously we got to talk about Bo Nickel. I was like, hey, Bo Nickel, don't do any striking. And he head kick KOs Rodolfo Vieira. So, I mean, this doesn't mean that he should start kickboxing by any means. It was a good matchup for him, striking wise. But, I mean, he did what he had to do. He did it very well, in fact.
And coming off, your first loss, great statement to me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Get in the main card. Start off with a quick one. Beneil Dariush versus Benoit Saint Denis.
Yeah, BSD. I mean, I don't know what you really want to say about his performance because, you talked about it, I believe, last week. Dariush, has the skills to beat BSD, but he does get hit and he likes to trade and, that could cost him. And I think that's what it is. He opened up right away and MMA being MMA, he just got caught really early. Good for BSD. I don't want to say necessarily these victories are always kind of weird to me because it's not necessarily to me like, oh, this guy's grown leaps and bounds as a fighter. He just caught somebody who was super talented. And I always believed he had that in him anyway. So good win for him. Yeah, I just want to throw out a next fight for him. I know he might not get this, but I think it's kind of perfect in a lot of ways. Paddy Pimblett. Just because if BSD could knock out Paddy Pimblett, he could carry a lot of momentum. And if Paddy beats him, now Paddy's got even more momentum into potentially a title eliminator or a title fight for him.
Paddy's fighting Topuria next. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah, okay, well, I wouldn't be shocked. I mean, why not go with that big money fight while you can?
Yeah, for sure, yeah. Dariush there's not a lot to say. Like you said, Dariush came out, he landed a really hard low kick and then went to engage again, and I think it was 16 seconds, and he got flatlined. He went face down, face planted, and he was kind of protesting the stoppage. But I mean, I'm sure when he watched it back, he was out. His face hit the canvas. Bummer for him. I was very excited for that fight, so that was not a great way to start off the main card, but it got better from there. Leon Edwards versus Carlos Prates.
Yeah, Carlos Prates. I thought Edwards was going to make a statement in here and maybe not win in the most, exciting way, but I thought he would do what he had to do. Nope. Carlos Prates instead makes a big statement and knocks out Leon Edwards in just exciting fashion. This is good because this is a big step up in terms of competition. Like Ian Gary's stock kind of rises just from this, even though he wasn't in the fight. You know what I mean? Because Ian beat Carlos here. And now you're seeing these young guys. And it was at this point of the show, and actually, especially after the next fight we're going to talk about, where I'm like, man, are we watching a change in the guard on this night?
We are.
Yeah, it really felt that way. But yeah, super impressive victory. And I think personally, I don't know if this fight's going to be on the table either, but I like to see him fight Kamaru Usman. See, fight another former champion on that level and then see what he can do. Stronger wrestling, but...
Yeah, well, Islam called out Usman to fight him next, but we'll see.
He's waiting for Islam. Well, actually, I don't know. Stylistically, that'll be interesting.
That's just because Ali is the manager for both guys, and he gets the most money from that fight. Yeah, this fight, though, Prates fucking got a second-round anime KO. He literally lifted Leon off his feet to knock him out, and then Leon, when he hit the ground, he was smiling, and he just stayed smiling while he was unconscious. This is very weird, but this fight went exactly like I said, though. I said Prates was just going to march him down. Leon was going to try to stay out of range, but Prates just marched him down. No respect for Leon striking, so... I mean, did you see the little thing where Leon was on Prates' back and he was rabbit punching him and Prates was smirking okay, this is what we're doing. He was also talking a bunch of shit to him when they were engaged in the grappling. He's like, oh yeah, you want to grapple now, you're afraid. Yeah, it was a good fight. Yeah, Prates looked really good. I'm interested in his next fight for sure, but Sean Brady versus Michael Morales. I did not get this one correct.
Yeah, I mean, this was another coming out star-making performance here. Michael Morales knocking out the number 2 ranked contender at welterweight. This guy's one fight away now, but possibly of being like in a championship fight here all of a sudden, you know. And again, this really felt like the change in the guard after this fight. I'm like, holy crap. It really made me think we were going to see something in the following fight, which we did not, but we'll talk about that. But yeah, impressive for Michael Morales. It's almost like Carlos Prates. I like just go see that fight, and that's how I feel about Michael Morales. Really stepping up, great knockout. And as far as his next opponent goes, I'd actually just, again, undefeated, maybe borrowing that little school of boxing that we don't really usually use, but now also undefeated and coming off a knockout over the second-ranked guy. I'd like to see him possibly fight the winner of, what did I have down here? Ian Gary, Belal Muhammad this weekend. So I think, you know, if, say, Islam's going to fight Usman or Arman or somebody like that, then that fight, you know, they're not in a hurry to put Belal in there. And Ian, they might want to win one more. You know, have one of those guys fight Michael Morales and got a potential exciting another fight there at welterweight.
To me, the Belal one is the most interesting matchup because I want to see those two fight each other, but we'll see. But yeah, Morales, first round TKO. I mean, this really came down to, I just did not realize how fucking huge Michael Morales is. He literally looked like he was 2 weight classes bigger than Sean Brady. So his technique is not pretty, but he just puts 100% behind every strike he throws. And he's very accurate with those strikes. So he's a dangerous man.
For sure.
For sure. And then the card got boring as hell. Valentina Shevchenko versus Zhang Weili.
Well, I watched these the next morning, and at first, I'm like, wow, this was awesome. And when I got to this fight, I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, things slowed down in a hurry. Now, again, getting to watch this the next morning, avoided spoilers, I was able to at least see the appreciation of Valentina. I believe I did pick Valentina for this. Mm-hmm. Again, to me, the X factor was the weight, and that was what happened. But again, it's one of those things, like, I'm not surprised when I say it, but then watching it, it's still like, wow. Like, I thought Weili would, you know, be a beast at this weight class potentially, and I was fully prepared to be wrong on this. Nonetheless, Valentina looks so much stronger, so much bigger, and she just high MMA IQ, and I think she's really, I don't know. I think when you go back to a couple fights ago with the Grasso fight and the one before that where she was struggling with, I think maybe now I look at it and go, was she just not motivated and this was the kick in the ass she needed? Because she's looking like a dominant fighter here now. What she does next, I'd say Manon Fiorot is potentially, you know, a great opponent. I know she had called someone else out for this too that you'll probably remind me of that was in the crowd.
Natalia Silva. I think it's got to be her. I mean, she's like...
Yeah, she could definitely be a big-time fight here. And another thing I think that I wouldn't mind seeing out of Valentina is that I wouldn't mind if she went up to bantamweight, honestly, and tried to get that title one more time before her career is done. But we shall see. All right. Well, you know, first time ever, Chevy's internet went out. So I'm going to finish this show. Valentina Shevchenko, like I said, I'd like to see her maybe fight at bantamweight next before her career is done. Not that she's going to do great against Kayla Harris or Amanda Nunes, but, you know, I think she deserves the shot. She's been such the GOAT at women's flyweight. Now, as for our main event on UFC 322, Islam Makhachev, new champion, basically dominates JDM. JDM had no answer at all for Islam Makhachev whatsoever. And quite frankly, it was very, very impressive. I could not believe what I was seeing. But at the end of the day, Makhachev, if he wasn't in talk for GOAT status, he certainly is now. And I think he was before. But yeah, now I look at Islam Makhachev and I just look at his career and I'm thinking, like, could this guy eventually hold like 3 weight class championships? I mean, I don't know. He's definitely impressive. I can't believe he beat JDM like that in his first ever fight in the UFC at welterweight like that. Just absolutely impressive. I hope he fights Arman Tsarukyan next. That's personally what I'd like to see, Arman versus Ian. But we'll see what happens. Speaking of Arman Tsarukyan versus Dan Hooker, UFC Fight Night. Yeah, this is going to be an interesting card here. I'm going to get right to it. Co-main event on this show, Belal Muhammad, 24-4-1, 5 KOs, 1 subs, 18 decisions, former welterweight champion, 2-time performance of the night, fight of the night 2 times. He's tied Kamaru Usman for most unanimous decision wins in UFC welterweight division history. He's fighting Ian Machado Garry, 16-1, 7 KOs, 1 subs, 8 decisions, one-time performance of the night. And this guy's coming off a victory over Carlos Pratas, who just knocked out Leon Edwards. So Ian Garry's a guy that, some people maybe don't like. He's rubbed the wrong way, but he's the guy that I think just gets better in and out every time he's in that octagon and constantly gets better. But in the case of Belal Muhammad, Belal he's that guy. He can be a boring fighter at times, but he's got a high MMA IQ and he knows how to get the job done and get the win. That being said, I think Ian Garry's going to win a decision. I don't know. I know Belal is good at it, but I just think Ian keeps improving. He does a lot of studying on his opponents, and I think that's going to be the case here. Ian is going to find a way to win by decision. Main event time. Dan Hooker versus Arman Tsarukyan. Dan Hooker, 24-12, 11 KOs, 7 subs, 6 decisions. He's on a 3-fight win streak. He's got 3 performance of the nights in the UFC and 3 fight of the nights. Tsarukyan's 22-3, 9 KOs, 5 subs, 8 decisions. He's coming off a victory over Charles Oliveira. Now, interesting to note, he does have 1 recent loss by decision to Gamrot, who Hooker owns a split decision victory over. Also, Tsarukyan's had fight of the night twice and performance of the night 3 times. So Hooker's an exciting fighter, and I think he's somebody who's fighting at his peak right now. That win over Gamrot recently to me showed that, Hooker is definitely someone who's put the work in. But that being said, I just got to go with Tsarukyan. I think Tsarukyan has way too many more skills, and I think he's the guy that's going to eventually fight Makhachev at this division for the title. I'm not saying he's going to beat Islam, but I think we will see him fight for a championship before we know it. So that's going to do it for our show. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Appreciate you.